Hello beauties, welcome to my channel. In today's video I'll be recommending few very affordable drugstore palettes, and these palettes are very nice, especially for the beginners, people who are just starting off with the makeup and they don't have any huge makeup collection but they do like to experiment with different colors occasionally. And these are the best palettes which I found at drugstore, and I have these from like a long time, like over a year or two. So I have played with them enough and analyzed each and every one, and I have sorted out few of them for you guys, and I'll tell you guys in a moment what I feel about each palette. And I'm recommending these palettes to you guys so that you can try out each and every palette without spending huge money on the eyeshadows. So I'll just start with the palette which is my least favorite, and I'll just move on to the ones which are my most favorite at the drugstore. And I have not included each and every palette available at drugstore. So without wasting much time, let's start with the palettes. The first palette I'm talking about is this palette. This is 32 pan palette from Eyeslips Face, and you can buy it at Target, Walmart, Walgreens sometimes, and this is available at eyeslipsface.com, and I think this is under $10. And in fact every palette I'll be talking about today is under $10. And this is how this palette looks like. And this has neutral shades and pop-up colors, and the mix is matte and satin shades. The problem in this palette is matte shades are not good, so satin shades are really good. I'll show you the swatches of this palette. In swatches for this palette, shades are really good, they are buildable and there is no fallout. But eyeshadows are not creamy or soft, they are a little bit hard, you know, elf. But these ones are really good for the beginners, especially it has pop-off colors and neutral shades all in one. So this is very nice palette to begin with. The next palette I have is again from e.l.f. and it's their baked eyeshadow palette in Texas. And these are baked eyeshadow from e.l.f. and they are very metallic and they can be used both wet and dry, and I really love the quality. The only concern I have with these eyeshadows is they have a lot of fallout, but you can get rid of it as like you can wet your brush and use them and there will be no fallout. So I'll show you the swatches of this palette. As you have seen the swatches for this palette is very pigmented and the shades are very metallic. So if you want to have something in your collection and which is very metallic and very affordable, this one is the good thing, and you get multiple shades here and you get a good collection of neutrals. So that's that. So the next palette I have for you is this Fictastic palette. It's from City Color Cosmetics. I have already done a video on this and shown you the swatches, but I'll show the swatches of this palette again in this video so that you can get an idea of the pigmentation on this palette. The pigmentation is great, there is no fallout. Eyeshadows are not creamy, but they are not stiff either like the e.l.f. ones, but it has like good mix of matte and satins. But again, mattes here are weak and satins are great. Like, I'll show you the swatches and you can see the pigmentation on this palette. And the things I like about this palette is its pigmentation, blendability, and the pops of color. Like, I love the colors which are in here, and very nice. And this gold right here is the best gold I have in my collection right now, and you can see the pigmentation on this gold, it's amazing. and as I told you, there is no fallout, and the only thing which concerns me is the packaging. This is very flimsy, and I wish they come out with the whole cardboard packaging or the glass one, so that it gets more travel friendly. But so far, for pops of color, this one is my favorite, because pop of colors in this palette performs really well, and they're very pigmented, as you have already seen in swatches. Moving on, we are getting close to more mainstream palettes like these ones, and I know these are favorite of so many people here on YouTube, and so many people talk about these. I really love these, but the only thing I don't like or hate about it is this palette itself is not sufficient, and you need to pull in some other neutral palettes to create multiple looks with these palettes. And most of the shades here are good, but some are duds as well, and you'll see that in the swatches. So I'll move on to the swatches for both these palettes. As you have seen swatches for these palettes, the shades are great, and this has mixture of satin, matte and shimmery shades. These eyeshadows are really soft, at least they are softer than what I have already talked about. But coming are the palettes which has shades which are even softer than these eyeshadows, and I'll move on to those palettes. Next comes this Maybelline the Nudes palette, and I know this was the one of the kind which was released at Drugstore, and everybody was mad about it. It has very good mixture of mattes and satin shades, and this palette, I can say this is sufficient to be taken alone, and you need not to pull any other palette to create looks out of this palette. So that way, this is very nice travel friendly palette and one of a kind at Drugstore. And eyeshadows are decently pigmented. I'll show you the swatches. Seen the swatches for this palette, I must say the shadows have a little bit of fallout, and which is concerning, but you can always take care of it. And then some of the matte shades are really patchy, which I don't like, and the shades over here has the best pigmentation. These are these satin shades, and I really love the pigmentation on this, and the black provided in this palette is not good. Like, this is how it is swatched, and you have already seen the swatches in the overall. This is a great palette, and this has couple of my favorite eyeshadows, which are these, and I really love these eyeshadows. And here are these three eyeshadows which I love in this palette, and these are right here, this first right here, this first one, and these two shades. So that's how they swatch, and I love this palette, and I have taken this palette couple of times with me on my road trip, so I know this palette is very functional and you can use it on its own, and you need not to pull any other shades or palettes. So that's that. Now we'll be talking about some newly released palettes, and these ones are very much comparable to high-end quality. And the first one I'm talking about is from CoverGirl, and it's their Roses palette. They have couple of other palettes as well, but I like this one the best. And this is how this palette looks like. Eyeshadows are very soft here, and due to their soft nature they tend to crumble and cause a lot of fallout, so you need to take that in mind. And I suggest with this palette, do your eyes first and then do your makeup, and otherwise the pigmentation is great and quality is great. They are soft, and I'll just move on to the swatches and show you how the pigmentation is on this palette. As you've seen the swatches, this palette has good mix of satin and matte shades, and there are a couple of shades in here which has shimmer, and that shimmer is not very chunky, and sometimes if you blend those colors the shimmer goes away. And the shades I'm talking about are this one right here, the last one, and this one. These shades has shimmer, and you can see right here I was talking about that these shadows are like so soft that they crumble. So this is what I was talking about. And if you want to see the swatches, so here are the swatches, and as you can see there is not a lot of glitter or shimmer which translated into the swatches. So that's that, and I recommend you guys to go and check it out. It's really good, and it has very rosy shades which complement a lot of skin tones, so I know you guys will like it. And the next palette I have is this palette from Wet n Wild. It's from their Fergie collection, and the name of this palette is Milano collection. And I was debating with myself whether to keep this palette on number 1 slot or number 2. So I figured out that yes, I should give number 2 slot to this palette, and this has amazing pigmentation, and you guys will see in the swatches. I'll just show you the swatches first. And one thing I really liked about this palette is this comes with a very functional brush, and I know some people say they didn't like the brush and they were not able to use it, but I really had no issues with this brush, and this is really very functional, and I have already used it couple of times. And here is the palette. As you have seen, the swatches, eyeshadows are very pigmented. Here they have good mix of satin and matte shades, and there is no fallout in the eyeshadows. And these eyeshadows I found they are more creamier than their 8 pan eyeshadows, and they are creamier but they are not soft so that they crumble like the CoverGirl ones. So this has a very good formulation. The other thing I like about this palette is this has very good mix of neutral and rosy tones, and these colors are very true to their color which is in the pan, and they translate exactly to the eyelids, and they look very beautiful, and these are very blendable. Like, so if you haven't tried this palette already, I recommend you guys to go and try it out. And the strength of this palette is this black shade right here. Like, I'll swatch it for you guys, and I think I have swatched this shade earlier as well in one of my videos. And here is this black color. Like, it was single swipe in front of you guys, and you can see the pigmentation. And you guys have already seen the swatches. All the swatches for all the palettes are single swipes without using any kind of a primer, and that was the pigmentation. And I think pigmentation wise, out of all the palettes I have talked until now, and I'll be talking after this, this one is the best. Now we'll be moving on to my most favorite drugstore palette, and that is this Milani palette. It's their Earthy Element palette, and this is how it looks like. And I love how this comes with a brush, and again this brush is very usable. I took this palette recently to Orlando and I used it there, and this is very functional brush. And here is what this palette looks like, and I'll give you the swatches for this palette. This palette has good mix of matte shimmers and satin shades, and the shades are really blendable. They don't have any fallout, and the formula is soft and feels very luxurious. And I have nothing like this in my collection from Drugstore, so this one feels most luxurious when it comes to Drugstore. And I really love how they translates onto my eyelids. They translate very true to color, and you need not to build them too much. much, but they are buildable and they blend very beautifully. And today I have these two shades, these two matte shades on my eyelids, and I have this highlighter as my inner corner highlight and my brow bone highlight, and I really love this palette and I'm using it non-stop since I got it. So if you want to try one palette from the drugstore, I will recommend this palette. Go check it out. These has some other kinds also, but I love Earthy Element one the most. So that was all for this video, guys. Hope this video will help you next time whenever you are shopping for your palette, and I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye.